If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. So, problems. We all have them. We all have things every single day that either make us scratch our head or tear our hair out. You know, the problems are either ours or they're people that we work with. And sometimes they become ours, even if they shouldn't be. Now, my question to you is, when you have a problem and you need to tackle it, you need to fix it, do you take the easy part first? Or do you do the hardest part first? And different people will say that different ways are better. And I'm not sure there's one that's better than the other. And this is what we're going to gnaw on today. But for me, I take it and look and say, you know what? If we don't get to the crux of the problem, if we don't sit there and say, what are the key issues that are going to make this thing blow up, and figure out how to fix those problems first, very rarely do the other things fall in line. But if we tackle the easy stuff and negate the hardest stuff, guess what? You've probably missed a lot of the crux of the problem, and therefore you're not going to create a solution that's going to create something that's viable in the long term. But that's my viewpoint. Hey, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Oh, I think we're going to have our first point and
Awesome.
counterpoint.
I
am an advocate of get the small stuff done first. And the reason why is because people like my brain is we find big things. I don't want to call it intimidating, but it makes our brain reject it and we just avoid it. And that's what procrastination, and that's the result of procrastination. That's how it happens. So I'm a big advocate of looking at, and this is what I do in life in general. Fairly recently, I wish I had learned it sooner, which is I look at every problem as an individual box. Mm-hmm. And what I try not to do, and what I realize is what we find as a big problem is most likely a series of small boxes that we've stacked on top of each other. So it gives this illusion that it's a big ass problem, when in actuality, it is small bits and components that we've just stacked on top. So the way I try to visualize whenever I overcome a challenge is to say, okay, I have a lot of fracking boxes in front of me, but what if I just unpacked one at a time? I can just step over each one. It's so much easier to step over a small box than to climb the mountain of a big box to try to get to that top thing and still not solve the problem of the big box of the mountain. Does that make sense? Is that analogy making sense, you guys?
It does, but it gets me thinking the other way. You know, and I'm going to try to find the video for everybody. Look up Stephen Covey, Big Rocks. Okay. Stephen Covey, if you don't know who he is, look it up. I mean, I can't go into look up Stephen Covey. Brilliant mind, brilliant personality, has so much to say on a whole bunch of different things. But here's what he says about Big Rocks. He says, when you create a box and you want to fit everything into the box, if you put the sand in first and then the pebbles and then the small stones and the larger stones and then leave the big rocks to the very end, the big rocks won't fit. The big rocks won't fit. But if you put the big rocks in first and you build everything else around it, everything fits in the box quite nice and neatly. So it's a matter of sitting there looking at it going, hey, listen here. We've got big problems. We've got big issues to deal with. Let's deal with the big issues. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. But if we don't tackle the big problems, we are never going to be able to sit there and say, oh, God, okay, yeah, we figured a big problem. Okay, you want this? Okay, yeah, you get that. Okay, you want that? Oh, yeah, you do that. Those are superfluous little things that you could toss away and say, yeah, I'm willing to forego the high ground on these little things if I've got the big things covered. And that gives you room to negotiate. You can negotiate away the small things that really are not that important and don't matter that much, as long as the big things are taken care of and fixed right away. And that's where my thought process is on this.
And I hear you on that. And I understand that completely. Mm-hmm. And I think it is, let me just put it this way. Sometimes those big rocks are comprised of small rocks, but they've been compacted together in a way where, because the little rock situations haven't been addressed, it's compounding and compounding and compounding and becoming a compressed rock, right?
Yeah. And that's a big rock that needs to be dealt with.
Right. But that is an indicator of, again, I think it's a situation of, are you curing the disease, or are you treating the disease? Right.
No, I get what you're saying with this. I understand that the big rock is composed of this, but the big rock is the big rock because of all the little minutia that's going on around it. But if you don't solve the problem you can't solve the problem of the big rock without looking at all the little pieces that make up the big rock.
And I think that's the whole idea of it, right? Is understanding that if you've got a mountain in front of you, the odds are high, unless it's like, someone Google it. There is a rock formation that's ginormous, and it's one solid piece of rock. I think it's Uru, out in Australia. I think that is one piece of like rock.
Not Ayers Rock, but it's one of those type things.
No, it's Ayers, but they renamed it to their actual like indigenous name. Okay. Yeah, so it's Ayers.
I've always known it as Ayers Rock, but okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah. The indigenous people would like to.
I understand.
Have a word with
and I'm okay with that. I just didn't know.
But that being said, is I feel like at times those big things, those big picture things, absolutely have to be addressed. But we do have to understand there are contributing factors that create that big thing as an issue. So let's say, for giggles, in a business application. Again, I bring it back to sales, everyone, because that's my background. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry, I'm not in engineering or finance or whatever, but here's where my brain goes to is, look, if you have 100 million quota that the business needs to have in order to run, I understand that's the big problem. Like, that is the big mountain of like, we got to get to 100 million. Now the question is, how do we get there? And I think we had this in the previous conversation, which is, okay, do we have the tools in place? Do we have the team in place? Do we have the, market sustainability to achieve that 100? Because everyone can give each other goals in life, but if you're in a super niche market where there isn't even $100 million in quote revenue to even get to that 100 million goal, then your target market's the wrong demographic, right? It's the wrong thingy. So I do think that, yes, you have to look at the bigger picture, but I do feel like maybe we're extrapolating two different things, which is maybe the way I looked at this conversation earlier, which is when you're doing your daily tasks as an employee or as a leader or as a business owner, yes, I have to hit $100 million for my business. I get that, right? But sometimes I feel like, and going back to, all right, that's great and all, but what are my daily exercises? What are the daily challenges that maybe the team isn't addressing? That's why I keep going back to you, but I think the small things. So I think we're saying the same thing.
We are, because here's the thing, is it's the big things that help. It's the small things that enable you to tackle the big things. I'm talking about the minutia stuff. I'm talking about the superfluous stuff that people sit there and go, the problems that aren't really that important, that don't really focus on the big goal, that don't enable you to solve the big problems. But all the minutia stuff that people sit there and go, oh, I can write a report. Oh, I can make that phone call. Oh, I can do this. But none of those things are solving the main problem. They're just little things that distract us from getting to the big problem. And that's where I'm going. I mean, I truly believe that you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You have a big elephant, you have to eat it one bite at a time. You can't attack the whole thing as one big thing and just start taking bites out of the stomach, because it's just not going to work. You need to sit there and attack that elephant and attack that problem by attacking the small pieces that build up to being able to make that elephant palatable. However, there's a whole bunch of minutia stuff that we all have it circling around our desk every single day, things that are not, that are not important, that are not part of the main goal, that are just, they're just little things that distract us on a regular basis and make it easy for us to sit there and say, oh, I'll do this, or I'll do this, or I'll write an email, or I'll put one more video up on YouTube, or whatever. But it doesn't enable the company or yourself to reach the main goal or fix the big problem. Those are the minutia things that I think that need to be left to the side, and worry about those once you fix the big problem.
I'm hearing what you're saying on that. I think it's recognizing the elephant is an elephant,
Yes.
right? And that's the big problem. Now,
and
like
most
you
people
say,
most people don't see the elephant. They just see an ear, they see a tusk, they see a trunk.
They see a task, and they just do the task. But is it really chipping away at what needs to be addressed, which is the elephant in the room?
Exactly.
Now, as I said it before, and I'll say it again, don't eat my elephant. But it could be like the elephant in the room, meaning maybe feed the elephant, right? Maybe you're starving an elephant right now, which don't starve my elephant. But like all relationships, like all things, it needs nurturing.
Yes.
And it also needs that reprioritization of even the small little things. Okay, maybe it is that posting on social media will achieve a certain goal. Understand, though, that there has to be logic behind it, right? There's got to be, like, you're not posting on social media just for giggles. You know what I'm saying? But if it's part of the campaign, the tools that's going to effectively bring visibility to your brand or your company, then it is those small component. It is still a critical component, right?
Those are fixing the big problem.
But like
one bite at a time.
It's not like you spinning around in circles and like, okay. Ooh, I'm gonna throw this out there.
Okay, go for it. I'm catching. You throw, I'll catch.
No, I think it's gonna be a separate topic. But you're right. Okay, I'm bringing it back to social media because it's relevant to our interests, right? Because that's what we do and all that good stuff. But which is, these little tasks need to be working towards that end goal. It isn't just for the sake of doing it. Like you said, if you're sending outbound emails, is it because you just need to do an exercise to send out outbound emails and that's your task and that's it? Or is there actual effectiveness around it? Yes. And I think that's what you're getting to the crux of. And I think that's where stop
doing busy work and do work that's effective work.
Right. And I think everything, like we said, there's nothing all black and white with our statements with each other. Like I said, for me, if I know my little bits of boxes are contributing to that big box and I know it's chipping away, don't eat the elephant, but you know what I'm saying, addressing that elephant, then that's what I'm kind of going after. And I get what you're saying is, but be careful of the fact that these boxes that you put in place, are there boxes that are actually part of that mountain, or is it part of like another valley that you're just making crap up and it's ineffective and you're never addressing that?
Is it mountain stuff that should just go in the garage and, mark it up for 20 years and then go, oh, right. Oh, I forgot about this. Okay. Just throw it away.
You know what's funny about those small tasks for my brain peoples? Be aware, you guys. Yes, you have to address things and you chip away at it. But remember, whatever gives you that dopamine hit, and which is why it makes you do these other smaller tasks instead of the bigger tasks, understand you can still get that same dopamine hit if you understand that these tasks that you're doing does take that big task down a notch as you keep going. Because the more I read up about like me, like I go down rabbit holes all the time because
you get the dopamine hit.
You get the fixation of, oh, I'm doing a job well done. And then you get into that trap and understanding, wait a minute, did that actually solve any problem that I'm trying to fix right now, other than it just made you feel good? So be careful of that. That's the one thing I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So let's leave it there. I think that's a good place to leave it, is that beware the dopamine hit. Do the small things that fix the big problem.
But address the big problem.
Address the big problem. You need to focus on the big problem. And realize that there's lots of minutia out there that may make us feel better, but it doesn't move the needle. So I'm Ben.
And I'm Syya.
And we'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites.